Hello, and welcome back to another episode of The Pilot Principle, the podcast where we take a look at just the first episode of a series, the pilot, and then use it to decide if we should watch the entire series, or at least the second episode. So if that sounds like something you're interested in or intrigued by, don't be shy, hit follow. Now, on this episode of The Pilot Principle, we are finally going international as we take a look at the pilot episode of Netflix's new K-drama series, Hierarchy. In terms of a series synopsis, it tells us the top 0.01%, damn, the top 0.01% of students control law and order at Jooshin High School, but a secretive transfer student chips a crack in their indomitable world. Ooh. Before we get started, I want to not quite apologize in advance, but I want to let you know that I'm trying with the names and the pronunciations. So just bear that in mind and be kind. Okay, let's start how we always start, which is by looking at the credits. And the pilot title for Hierarchy is Newbie Party, Truth or Dare. The pilot synopsis tells us Kang Ha enters Jooshin High and quickly ruffles some feathers. He soon attends a rowdy party and partakes in a provocative game of truth or dare. We have an episode length of 58 minutes, but it's actually about 51 minutes if you don't watch the entire length of the credits. We have a series length of 7 episodes, and the pilot was written by Jooshin, who wrote About Time, not that one, and was directed by Bae-hyun-jin, who also directed episodes of Startup, Big Mouth, and Alchemy of Souls. And both Jooshin and Bae-hyun-jin are both cited as the series creators. Now, in terms of cast, we first have Ro Jung-yu, who plays Jae, and Jung-yu has starred in 18 Again, Our Beloved Summers, and Badland Hunters. Lee Chae-min plays Kang Ha, and Chae-min has starred in High Class, Crash Course in Romance, and See You in My 19th Life. Next, we have Kim Jae-won, who plays Kim Ryan, and Jae-won has starred in King the Land, which I actually have heard of, Fall for You, and To My Star. Jae Hyewon plays Yoon Hee-ra, and Hyewon has starred in My Perfect Stranger, It's Okay Not to Be Okay, and Justice. And finally, we have Lee Won-jung, who plays Lee Joo-jin, and Won-jung has also starred in My Perfect Stranger. And in case I didn't already say, you can watch Hierarchy over on Netflix. Okay, in terms of what made me want to watch the series, did anybody else watch that Spanish teen thriller series Elite? It reached 7 series, and I believe a final 8th series is on the way. Now, did anyone else stop after series 4? I think the cast changed dramatically, and some of my favourite / main characters left, and I was like, how can this keep going? Just change schools, people, change schools. Anyway, I did hear that Hierarchy was supposed to be similar to Elite in its glory days, which is why I thought I would give it a try. Also, my sister watches a lot of K-drama and has been trying to get me to start one, so let's see if Hierarchy can convince me that I've been missing out. And the final reason I thought I would give the pilot episode of Hierarchy a try is because I mostly look at British and American pilots on this podcast, so I thought it'd be interesting to see if the same television and specifically pilot rules apply across the globe. Okay, let's now get into the first 10 minutes of Hierarchy and that pilot episode, Newbie Party, Truth or Dare. Why the first 10 minutes, you wonder? Well, typically the first 10 minutes of a pilot is supposed to sort of set up episode 1 and sort of give you a little bit of an introduction to this brand new world. At the same time, while it's showing you the ropes, it also needs to convince you to stick around, which is why analysing the opening is so important in context of the pilot episode. So the first episode of Newbie Party, Truth or Dare goes like this. We are hit with the intro and we are guided through empty school halls. It's kind of creepy, but at the same time, that theme song, Shazammed. We then open on a disorienting shot of a boy running through the dark corridor of a school. He's on the phone telling someone, the students, the teachers, the entire school is completely deranged, and that he's going to expose what's going on there. And then he's hit by a car. Now, just to dissuade any notions, he's dead. We then get a very different look at the illustrious Jooshin School. And it's almost as if we're looking through a sort of glossy brochure as we watch unnecessarily attractive students turn up in the back of cars with chauffeurs. They have classical music lessons, private fencing and ballet lessons, and enjoy gourmet lunches. Sounds like the absolute effing dream. Now, it is the first day of school, and during assembly, the head teacher introduces the new scholarship student, Kang Ha. Now, while Kang Ha is saying hello to the student body, in walks Ryan to awe and whispers. Ryan is distracted, and his phone shows a string of unanswered messages from someone called Jai. During the first day of school, we watch as Kang Ha is slighted for being a scholarship kid. And then we also watch as Hee-ra, who is one of the popular kids and in the inner circle, make a play for Ryan, despite the fact that Ryan is dating her friend, the missing Jai. Ryan swiftly rejects Hee-ra's advances at the end of Act 1 and about the 11-minute mark. Now, in terms of an intro, firstly, can we just say and give a little bit of an appreciation to those opening 2 minutes? They were insane. My heart still has not recovered. My heart still has not forgiven me. It was really, really good. Great introduction in those first 2-ish minutes. From there, I'm not going to lie, it was pretty so-so. I mean, it did do a good job of introducing us to the school, sort of understanding its prestige as well as the class system. It looks like at Jooshin School, if you are at the top of the food chain, you are literally royalty, untouchable even to the teachers. Now, despite all of this glitz and glamour, these illustrious 0.01 percenters are still teenagers with teenage problems. That's kind of what I gather from the first 10 minutes. Now, let's talk a little bit about main characters. And to surmise, we have the popular kids. So that's Ryan and Jai, who have been friends since they were 6 and dating since they were 15. We've also got Hee-ra and Woo-jin, who make up the rest of their quartet. Hee-ra is definitely jealous of Jai, despite the smiles and sort of innocent looks. And not gonna lie, she looks like she'd set up Jai in a heartbeat. Finally, we don't really get too much of Woo Jin in the pilot episode. He seems quite calm, but definitely perhaps has his own secret as he disappears off from time to time to respond to some text messages or something. Now, to look at 2 specific characters in a little bit more detail, we first have Jai, who is the Queen Bee. You're Serena Vanderwoodson. She's been MIA all summer and has broken up with her long-term boyfriend, Ryan, with zero explanation, and Jai is also having family troubles. So we watch in the pilot episode as her dad basically calls her a hussy, like her birth mom, for the way that she dresses and the makeup that she wears. And it's like, oh, not all the glitters is gold, honey. And don't worry, I haven't forgotten Kang Ha, who is the scholarship kid who just keeps smiling despite all the slights that he gets at school. Now, Kang Ha works part-time as a pianist. Imagine being a part-time pianist even. I'm not even fancy enough to know which way to call it. Now, Kang Ha happens to be providing background melodies at Jai's family home and meets her before her return to school. He literally gives her the shirt off of his back, and this little girl doesn't even have the effrontery to thank somebody. Imagine. Now, don't be fooled. Kang Ha is not all pushover nicey-nicey. At the end of the episode, we realise why he just keeps swimming. That's because he is on a mission to uncover the truth behind what happened to the last scholarship student, who is the boy from the start of the episode. We do kind of fear for his life, just a little bit, because in the episode we hear a teacher tell the class president or something, keep an eye on the new student so what happens before never happens again. And now it is time for a quick interlude to see what TV and film life is looking like beyond the pilot principle. And of course, we are starting with books, and I am in fact slowly but surely making my way through, you guessed it, Kazuo Ishiguro's The Remains of the Day. Let's just leave it at that. In terms of film, this weekend I watched the highly anticipated current Netflix #1 movie, Hitman, and I'm here with the controversial opinion that the movie absolutely sucked. I gave it 1.5 out of 5 on Letterboxd. And I stand by that. The pace was... Okay, firstly, let's just start with this. It was called a comedy. I laughed once, just putting that out there. But not only have I seen it being called a comedy, I've also seen it being called a whole mess of other genres like dark thriller, dark comedy, drama. I don't know, a bunch of other sort of made up niche subgenres have also been referred to this movie. And I think that's also part of the problem because the tone just couldn't make its mind up throughout the entire movie. One second it looked like it was supposed to be funny, but I'm sorry. I've never seen a comedy where the scenes just go on and on and on and just don't know where to stop. The pace was just way off. What a slow first hour and a half. I mean, it literally wasn't until that last 30-ish minutes that things got a little bit interesting. Sure, those last 30 minutes were great. Glenn Powell did a good job based on a true story that I'm like, whoa, I can't believe this is what really happened to someone. Otherwise, which is 80% of the movie, an absolute snooze fest. And I do in fact stand by that. Now, in terms of television, I am actually not quite sure what I'm feeling at the moment. So I've kind of just been pressing play on all kinds of things. I watched the first episode of Savage Rain on Netflix, which I believe was on HBO Max last year in the States. And I'm kind of like just, meandering my way through Dead Boy Detectives as I like do my nails or just need some background noise on or something. But I will soon be starting The Responder Season 2, so hopefully that injects some life into my television soul. Okay, that was a relatively quick and slightly ranty behind the pilot principle today. Remember to follow if you're not already following and join the people yelling at me in the comments on Instagram and Twitter/X at Pilot Principle, and of course on TikTok at A Writer of Sorts. Now, in terms of what I liked about the pilot episode of Hierarchy, Newbie Party, Truth or Dare, the opening, to be perfectly honest with you, I am still on edge. I'm not joking. I really liked the sort of discerning gimbal shot that we opened on. The acting of the boy that we see running down the corridor, I thought was really, really good. I mean, you could literally hear the panic and the fury in his voice. And of course, the very abrupt car thing. I mean, like, yeesh, been there. Whew. On the flippity flip side, in terms of what I didn't so much like about the pilot episode, well, I mean, do you know what? There wasn't anything I didn't like per se, but that initial sort of injection of fear and thrills from the start, well, we don't really get again. So I just felt like I'd been tricked. I thought this was going to be more of a K thriller, but at the moment, it's just feeling more like a K teen drama, which is fine, but not exactly what I was expecting, especially having had it been compared to Elite. Now, before we get to that all-important question, let us remind ourselves of the nuts and bolts of the pilot episode, starting with the synopsis. Kang-ha enters Jooshin High and quickly ruffles some feathers. He soon attends a rowdy party and partakes in a provocative game of Truth or Dare. Now, I do think that this is an accurate pilot synopsis. We will get into why it was provocative in a second, though I would say that provocative is definitely a bold choice of words. The writing was fine. I don't know if this helps or it doesn't help, but I did watch it with Korean audio and English subtitles. I always have subtitles on, so I do not mind reading subtitles whatsoever. So yeah, I mean, the writing was fine, but of course there's a level of translation that's definitely missing because I'm basically reading it. But, I could hear the emotion of what was said in the original language. So yeah, fine. Now, in terms of setting, I thought the setting was great, actually. You really get a sense of the level of wealth that these students have. However, I will say that it's not really comparable. I mean, I compared it to myself and the very less than high life and living that I have, but it would have been great to see it in comparison to Kang-ha, especially because he is quote unquote, well, there's nothing to quote about it. He's a scholarship kid. What's his home life like? And again, this could be me just accidentally comparing it to Elite, but Samu, we really saw the difference between where he lived with his mother, which basically looked like a shed, compared to where all his other classmates who were Elite lived. Now, in terms of the pace, if you ignore the beginning, the pace was fine. I get sort of slow burn energy from the pilot episode. Now, in terms of the end of episode Hook, during a game of Truth or Dare, Kang-ha chooses Dare, then marches up to Jai-yi, who is in a room with her ex, Ryan, who is trying to win her back with flowers and Hermes bags. Someone can try and win me back with Hermes bags. I'm not saying it will work, but I'll appreciate the effort. Anyway, Kang-ha walks into this room Despite whatever awkwardness and history is going on between Ryan and Jai, Kang Ha marches up to Jai and kisses her. Not gonna lie, boss move, especially if we ignore the whole consent issue. Anyway, before he gets to Jai as he sort of slow-mo walks over and then, lands the kiss, we discover in voiceover and some flashbacks that Kang Ha was related to the boy that we see at the beginning of the pilot episode, whose name was In Ha, and that Kang Ha will now do whatever it takes to find who killed him. Which is when we understand why Kang Ha is so persistent with these people who clearly don't want to give him a working table, let alone the time of day. Oh yeah, it's also pretty important to mention that Kang Ha thinks that Ryan had something to do with In Ha's death. The question is, of course, why? But also, did he though? Now, in terms of the serial arc, of course, big question, who killed In Ha? My money, personally, is on Hira because she's a snake. Or maybe Woojin because sometimes it's just the quiet ones. And I'm not going to lie to you, despite how wealthy Ryan is and the fact that we watch him speak both Spanish and French to a fluent degree, kind of feels like a wimp to me. So my money would not be on him for the murder of In Ha, but that's just me. But back to the serial arc, we are of course also wondering what it is that In Ha discovered at Jooshin High that got him killed in the first place. Now, murder mystery aside, why did Jai disappear all summer and what's up with these weird Instagram messages that we see her getting in the pilot episode? Now, personally, based off of nothing but something, I feel like she had a secret baby. Can't tell you why, but that's just how I feel. But now we've got all my wild speculations out of the way, there's only one question left to ask, and that is, will I be continuing with Hierarchy? Pause for dramatic effect. I don't know. However, I think I'm going to go with my instincts on this one and say no. Personally, I felt the introduction to each of the main characters was kind of just super vague. I really want to know a little bit more about their secrets and what they were hiding to sort of help me connect to them more. You know, when you sort of feel your heart race as you're watching characters nearly be caught doing something that they weren't meant to be or what have you. So I was missing that element from the pilot episode. And I also kind of wanted more of that sort of thriller-esque feeling that I had from the introduction. And beyond those first 2 minutes with how the rest of the pilot episode played out, kind of told me that the series overall would likely be more drama and less thriller. Also, I don't really watch a lot of programs set in school or read books set in school or focusing around teenagers for that matter. So for me, if I pick one up or turn one on, then it really has to work overtime to convince me to stick around. Lastly, though, I do appreciate that this is my first K-drama, so perhaps I'm just not used to things like the pacing and the tone overall. I don't know, let me know, because that is of course just me, and you may love Hierarchy if you love a slow burn drama, you like a bit of high school drama, and you also just like to watch young, rich, beautiful people do young, rich, beautiful things and hopefully get what's coming to them. No judgment whatsoever. Now, in terms of a pilot score, I will be giving the pilot episode of Hierarchy, Newbie Party, Truth or Dare, a average 3 out of 5. I think the character setup was good, the location setup was good, and we had some good teasers to a serial arc, both in sense of whodunit with the murder of In Ha, as well as the where you been girl with Jai. Even though I did like Kang Ha's energy especially, overall the characters in Hierarchy in this pilot episode did not blow me away, and I'm just not necessarily invested in any of the other characters that we met. Now that we've hashed out the fundamental principles, will you be giving the pilot episode a watch? Or have you already binged every episode of Hierarchy? Considering I said no to the show, do you have a suggestion of another K-drama I should try? Let me know over on all the social media places, and I will catch you on the next episode. Aww.